All right, so in this video, we're going to go over the process steps for multiplying and dividing decimals with powers of 10. And before we get into any examples, I wanted to go over the notes that we already created on Monday. They are quite detailed. Within the notes, students have not only examples, but you guys have process steps. And the process steps literally tell you how to do the problems. So we're just going to focus on the multiplying with decimals portion first. I'm going to just cover this up so you can look at it. So there are only 3 process steps to multiply decimals with powers of 10. The first step is to read the problem, and that's important because the problem might be given with a exponent, or it might just be given the value of the exponent, to which you then have to find the exponent. So you need to make sure you understand what the problem is asking you to do, and I'm going to show examples of both of those later on. Second, you need to look at the exponent. So depending on if you're given the exponent or the value of the exponent, you're going to have to understand how many places you need to move your decimal based on this information. And usually you're going to be given it in exponential form. So it's going to be easy. But again, I'm going to give more examples showing both ways. And then lastly, this is the most important one. You move the decimal to the right based on the exponent. When you multiply a number by a decimal, or when you multiply a number in general, you're making the number go from small to bigger. And to do that, you need to move the decimal to the right. All right? And let's go ahead and get into one of those examples really quickly, and then we'll show dividing. So I'm going to use multiple colors to emphasize what I want. So the first problem that I'm going to give you is a multiplication one, and we're going to do 10 to the third times 94 and 23 hundredths. Now, you'll be able to read this problem correctly if you write it in the place value chart, which I recommend students do to have an understanding of what the value of at least the decimal is. But for now, we can just move on. So we're going to write the process steps as we solve this problem. So I'm going to shimmy on over so we can do it. So step number 1 is to read the problem. So I am multiplying this number right here by this. Now, we're shortening it because we're actually not shortening it. We're doing what I call a shortcut. It's easier to move a decimal based on the exponent because what this problem is really saying is this. 10 to the third power is really 1,000. So what we're multiplying here is 94 and 23 hundredths times 1,000. Now that would be a very long problem to do. So we're just minimizing the work by shortening it and putting it as an exponent. So now I'm going to erase this. And this is all we do. So what I tell my students is to rewrite this number down here so you have space to work. So we've read the problem. We know that we're making this number bigger by the exponent over here. Now step number 2 is to look at the exponent. And I can see here that my exponent is 3. So I'm moving this decimal 3 places. And now this takes us to the last and most important step. You move decimal, and I'm going to put dot, you move the decimal to the right based on the exponent. I'm going to shorten this. So now I'm going to use my other marker to indicate this. So I am moving to the right, and I'm counting by 3. And how you do it is you literally put your pen or pencil on the decimal, and then you count between the numbers 3 spaces. So it goes 1, 2, 3. And I move this decimal over here. Well, now we notice that we actually have an empty space here. When you have an empty space there, you automatically put a 0. So now that I showed my work here, now I'm going to rewrite the number. So I have a 9, a 4, a 2, a 3, and a 0. So right now I just have numbers there. Now I need to actually put a comma in because I'm making this number, the value change. Because we went from 94 and 23 hundredths, which I always show my students, this is $94.23. Well, we made it bigger by this. Now to add the comma, you need to make sure you count from the right to left by 3 spots. And that's just 1, 2, 3. On the third spot is where you place a comma. And now my value is this. I have 94,230. So we've made this number bigger by 1,000. And how I tell my kids is, would you rather have $94.23 or $94,230? Obviously, we want this. So this is how you would multiply a number by base 10s. And now we're going to go ahead and do the opposite. We're going to do a division problem. And now I'm going to use the same numbers, and you're going to notice that the problem actually flips. So let me go ahead and do that right now. I am going to leave the process steps, although one thing is going to change. So now I'm going to do the opposite. So now I'm going to do 94 and 23 hundredths divided by 10 to the third. So now you can see that the numbers flipped. I'm not starting with the exponent because I'm not making this smaller. So multiplication, you're making a number bigger. Well, now we're doing the opposite. We're making this number, we're making it smaller. And again, the value of 10 to the third is 1,000, but you don't want to do all that work. We're just going to do the steps, which are already labeled here. So we've read the problem. It's 94 and 23 hundredths divided by 10 to the third. I'm looking at the exponent now. My exponent is still 3. So I'm moving my decimal 3 places. Now it's opposite. You go to the right when you multiply, but when you divide, you move to the left. So I'm going to rewrite this number down here so I can show my work. So now I literally put my pen on the decimal, and now I'm moving the decimal to the left. So now I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3. And now my decimal is right here. And it's 3 spots because the exponent says to move it 3 times. Well, again, I have an empty space here. I put a 0. And now I rewrite my number. It's 0.09423. Now it looks like a big number, but since it's on the right side of the decimal, this number is incredibly small. Very, very, very tiny. It's not even 1 cent. It's less than that. So this is incredibly tiny. So you can see that we went from $94 to less than even $1 or even less than 10 cents. This is tiny. So always think of decimals, or at least I think of decimals, as money. So dividing, you're making smaller, and multiplication, you're making it bigger. So I hope this video helped. Please use your process steps. And I didn't go over them over here, but they are the same here as they are on the board. So I hope this video helped. Make sure you keep practicing, and I hope to see your work here pretty soon.